Josh Ward, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Where are you? You got like some sort of neat background or something? Or are you you look like you're at the, I don't know, maybe the top of Thompson Bowling Arena? I'm trying to figure this out. What do you got going on?
At Food City Center, to be clear. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, maybe somebody with the last name Bowling reached out to Dave and wasn't too pleased about Food City Center. Maybe that'll be on offthehooksports.com before long.
Oh, interesting. Hanging out in the office, the studio where we do our show.
All right. Great stuff. All right. You can check Josh out from noon to 3. He is fantastic. We love him. And his articles are brilliant on offthehooksports.com. What do you think about that? Brilliant. It's pretty good.
I would endorse that.
I would apply. So, which Vols need to step it up? Let's go through these. You had Dante Thornton. I don't know if you had did you have these listed in order of, hey, really get your bleep together, or was it alphabetical or reverse order? How did you list them?
Yeah, it's somewhat weighted. I thought Dante Thornton was pretty obvious. So that's why I kind of led the article with him, because he came in with so much hype and he is so physically gifted. A guy with his size that can run the way that he can. And the way that Tennessee talked about Dante Thornton, the opening press conference of fall camp for Joey Halsley, he's talking about the great athleticism and freaky talent of Dante Thornton. And earlier in the summer, when Phil Steele came on our radio show and we asked him, is there a player to watch to really emerge for Tennessee this year? And he didn't hesitate. He said, oh, yeah, Dante Thornton. And that came from talking to Tennessee. Actually, he talked to Joey Halsley as well. And again, you can see Halsley, you can see Thornton run and do everything that would excite a coach, but he just hasn't made the plays on the field. He's shown glimpses. The play that he made after not making a play against Florida, they went right back to him, and Joe Milton delivered a perfect ball for, I think, a 43-yard gain against the Gators, but a drop against Austin Peay that got him benched and just not stepping up and making big plays. This offense needs big plays, and Thornton has the physical talent to deliver that.
Josh's appearance brought to you in part by our friends at the Hemp House, hemphousechat.com, hemphouse, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. And they put this together for us, the Big Orange Crunch, which I believe Josh consumes on a daily basis, is what I'm told. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Maybe not, but they're good for relaxing. Go ahead and get on there and use the promo code Hooked. Here's what somebody told me, and this was a weird comment, because I'm looking at Dante Thornton's age. So he was born in November 30th, 2022. So how old is he right now? Somebody do the math.
2022. Don't you mean 2002?
2002. Yes, he was born last year. He's almost a year old.
Yeah, in that case, he's overachieved, in my opinion. But November 2002, so he's about to turn 21.
Okay. Somebody told me, I didn't realize he was so young. And I wonder if this guy's still developing physically. And this is more of a long-term type of player as a transfer, as opposed to a guy that's going to fill an immediate need, a la Jalen Hyatt. So that at least got me thinking that better days might be ahead, Josh. I didn't realize he was that young. Did you?
I mean, is that young? I definitely give him a chance to grow and develop as a player, but I mean, he's been in the Pac-12 playing for a high-level program in Oregon for a couple of years, and has been at Tennessee the last few months. I mean, about to turn 21. There are a lot of players that are younger than him. Now, it's a weird time in college where, yeah, there are some 24 and 25-year-olds out there. I get that. But I don't view that as that young in college sports.
Well, that was my other thing.
I mean, he's right. Maybe, I think he's average age probably for his class, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Draft eligible.
That was the other thing that made me wonder. Maybe he's a little bit immature.
Maybe I just I wonder if to this point, because really the Austin P game, that's not a big stage. I do wonder, has the stage, the expectation of the program, that's a big stage no matter the game. Is that a little bit too much? I wondered when he arrived at Tennessee, well, why didn't he do more at Oregon? He averaged more than 21 yards per catch there last year, and he had some big plays, but not a high volume. And I wondered why. My expectation was, hey, this offense that Tennessee runs, he's just going to be running wide open. He'll catch the ball. But it hasn't been there for him. And the offense itself is the next guy on the list, is the guy that's leading it, of players that need to step up and be better. That the performance to this point has been disappointing is Joe Milton. So there are a number of players where they all need to come together. But if Thornton's better, Joe Milton is better. Joe Milton, although also has to be better, and that's in a number of areas. Decision making. Sometimes I'm not sure what he's seen. He's also made some plays where it's like, well, that's why everybody can't wait to watch him play football. But for Thornton, I can't explain why he's made the mistakes that he has, but he has to eliminate those, or he's probably going to lose his spot on the field.
Josh, I'm going to skip over Milton and go to the next guy, because we've discussed Milton at length in a lot of different ways. Before I get there, I want to point out with Thornton, you brought up that third down pass. You're right. That was a perfect dime by Joe Milton. And I don't think Thornton was recruited to only catch dimes. I think he was recruited to actually be able to make plays on maybe overthrows or things like that. And the thing that annoys me before I move on is I don't see the effort there. I see the opposite with the next guy on your list, and I want to know what you think, which is John Campbell Jr., I see the effort with John Campbell Jr. I just feel like he's making a lot of mental mistakes, maybe just struggling to pick up the offense. Is that what you're seeing with him at left tackle, or do you think it's deeper than that?
I haven't sensed any kind of effort issue, no, with John Campbell Jr. He had a tough evening in Gainesville, and that's part of the challenge here in some ways, is that Tennessee's played one real game out of four. So a lot of it's going to be weighted in how that game went, in my opinion. So here's the next test against an SEC team. But Campbell had this block that got everybody excited, went viral. Former linemen are sharing it on Twitter, and should have, where he drove a Virginia linebacker who didn't see Campbell coming and got everybody fired up. But Virginia's terrible. So what you do against Florida and what you do in the SEC is going to matter. In the Austin P game, again, it comes back to that, because that game shouldn't have mattered until it did, because they were playing so poorly. And the offensive line performance over the last few weeks, most notably Florida, but Austin P as well, was just not good enough. So, maybe it's understanding the offense. Part of it could just be physically losing battles, especially in that Florida game. But Campbell in August was getting some talk. Remember, this is all behind the scenes. Nobody's seeing practice. So word starts to come out, man, watch for Dante Thornton. Man, watch for John Campbell. We've solidified that left tackle spot with him coming in. NFL teams need to watch out. And I assure you, NFL teams have not been impressed by what they've seen. But I do like Campbell's attitude. I do believe that he cares about playing high-level football at Tennessee to try to get to the next level in the NFL. So I don't think effort's an issue. Performance just needs to be better.
Yeah, and I want to say this. Offensive linemen oftentimes look like they are not giving effort when they're unsure. So I'm very hesitant to question offensive linemen and effort, because if you're unsure, it looks like you don't play with effort, which I think are two totally different things. Elijah Herring.
Is it fair, though, is it fair for me to question Dante Thornton's effort the way I did, though, before we move on? Because I haven't seen him fight for balls.
Yes, different position. Totally fair. Elijah, totally fair. I got no problem with that. Elijah Herring at linebacker. He just continues to he played well last week, but the Keenan Pili thing is what was an issue. They didn't want to lose him. I would put him right up at the top of the second tier of players you didn't want to lose, behind maybe Milton and Cooper Mays. And they did lose Cooper Mays, but Elijah Herring, I think that he's going to end up being a very good player. They need him to be a very good player, like September 28th, September 29th, September 30th.
Yeah. If we want to talk about effort, never an issue with Elijah Herring. He sometimes like, hey, you don't need to give as much effort, man. You can save it for the next play. For him, it's just he's continuing to learn the position. And I do think that we found out that the excitement about the depth at linebacker was overblown in August. And maybe part of that was, well, by midseason, these guys will be ready. But we found out that Tennessee needed that depth to show up by week 2. And there have been some challenging moments for Elijah, but again, his effort is there. Thought he played better against UTSA. Let's see against South Carolina. I'm sure that the Gamecocks will try to find ways to get him in mismatches in the passing game and see if they can take advantage, see if they can get him out of position in a number of different ways, like Florida was able to do. And that goes for Herring and other defenders too. But Aaron Beasley, I think, is a really good player for Tennessee, also a max effort guy and somebody that Herring can learn from. I'm sure that he's talked to Pooley and tried to learn from him as well as linebackers coach Brian Jean-Marie. And maybe Herring goes out and plays really well on Saturday. I wouldn't even be surprised to see that happen. But his performance the last few weeks is a reminder that, okay, depth is still a work in progress at linebacker. And Dave, you're right. They're hoping that progress shows up this week.
Caleb, would you like to ask about Kamal Hadden as Josh broadcast from the Starship Enterprise?
I was going to bring up Kamal Hadden.
The drop.
Josh, do you think it's look, there's the missed tackle Kamal Hadden had, but he only allowed one catch on 4 targets against Florida. Do you think part of the annoyance that people have with Kamal Hadden is how much he talks when he's on the field and how much he jaws? Is he almost like the college football version of Dylan Brooks?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, probably because like Dylan Brooks, Hadden can make plays. Dylan Brooks is a solid NBA player. Nobody wants to hear NBA talk, I'm sure, but people are talking about him like, okay, well, he's going to have to go play overseas. Like, no, he's going to get an $80 million contract to play. Kamal Hadden, a lot of I'm still getting daily messages saying Hadden's not going to play this week, right? It's like, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to start just like he did this past week. The coaches still believe he's one of the top corners on this team. That could be an indictment on the group. I get that. But Hadden has playmaking ability. But the South Carolina game last year, when he's playing poorly, the team is getting demolished, and he's talking a lot of trash. Nobody's going to like that. And then the effort or lack thereof against Florida, that's going to upset a lot of people and should. But, the reaction of, okay, well, then just play one of the freshmen. Sometimes that can lead to even more problems, not fix them. So he needs to play more consistent. And, yeah, if he's not playing well, definitely doesn't need to be talking up to the other side of the field. But Hadden's a very important player. That's why he's on the list. He needs to be better, more consistent. But Tennessee needs him to be better and more consistent because he's going to be out there on the field.
You include Dylan Sampson, but you started with slap a big asterisk on this one.
Big asterisk.
Yeah, it's not Dylan Sampson's fault. He's not playing well. I thought Tennessee against Florida he got lost in the shuffle, which is inexcusable.
Yeah, and that's why I put him at the bottom of the list too, because Dylan would be more of an example of the excitement of what the offense would be during the offseason and during the conversation in August. Dylan's lack of opportunity at times, really we're talking about the Florida game, but also Austin Peay. I think he had 4 touches in that game, is part of the conversation. And that's why what he did against Virginia with more of a chance, and then this past week, is a reminder that he has to be involved in the offense. So none of it is Dylan's fault as far as I'm aware. I'm not aware of anything off the field that kept him from playing against Florida. Coaches just didn't include him, and we've covered that. That was a mistake. So as long as that mistake is righted, there is a chance for more explosion in the offense because Dylan has big playmaking ability. So the disappointment is not in Dylan. The disappointment is in him being on the sideline.